Good morning. I'm David Selzer, a proud member of this community. Please take your seats, turn off your cell phones, and look around and greet everybody who's around you. Do you hear the resonance with the ideas we talk about every Sunday in this room? Well, it's done. So the words to our morning chant are on the screen, followed by the words of our spiritual mind treatment offered by our spiritual community leader, Reverend Karyl Huntley, here to take you deeply into your own center.
To invite you to come within with me as we say our opening prayer in honor of Nelson Mandela this morning. So as we move into that sanctuary where everything arises, for I know that the center of the universe is at the center of my being and at every point in the universe. I know that my source, that infinite beloved of my soul, reaches further than I can imagine into the universe, known and unknown, and deeper into myself than I know. I know that this source is loving and caring, divinely guiding, receptive to my thoughts, and infinitely capable of manifesting anything. And as I know this for myself, I know this for each person here this morning. And I know this for our beloved Nelson Mandela, who this week has taken his chair at the table of the immortals. And so knowing that in the oneness of the Great Spirit, that we are each and all one with this towering consciousness of equanimity, compassion, and forgiveness. And so it is that I feel into this dear soul that lived for a time on earth with all of us and has now made that great and glorious transition into the next adventure. And so I give my thanks for the amazing model of conscious awareness that Nelson Mandela was on this planet. A consciousness of inclusivity, a consciousness of courage, a consciousness of commitment to high and great ideals, a consciousness of compassion and forgiveness. And as I contemplate these qualities that this man so beautifully exemplified, they somehow take a greater strength in me, and I am able to live those qualities the more, because briefly in my life, I thought about and honored this man. I know and declare that his influence will be even greater as he has taken his place with the immortals, and that over and over and over we will refer to this man's life and what he did with it. And in this inspiration, may we all rededicate ourselves to our own purpose, known or unknown, and know that we are divinely guided and supported by that infinite presence that holds the beloved Nelson Mandela right now, as each of us in this room are also held. I give my thanks for this knowingness. I place this prayer into the heart of God, knowing that it will take root perfectly and powerfully whenever this prayer is heard, now and ongoing. And so it is. Amen. Well, good morning once again. And I want to welcome especially people who are here back after a long time. I wish you a great, great holiday season. We have a wonderful service here this morning, starting with, we've already started, moving right along with a wonderful musical gift by Bodhi, who is actually debuting his next new album this morning. And the music, we're going to bless this. We're going to bless this in a little bit. But right now, just sit back and enjoy the most fabulous flute music you will ever hear. Please welcome Bodhi Sechko. morning to all of you. We are now going to do our little altar, this wonderful altar that was put together by Galia, the Advent wreath. We have a slightly different take on Advent than you might have been familiar with if you were raised in a Christian church. We still use the Advent wreath for waiting, but we wait for the return of the Son. And not only do we wait, but we honor each aspect of earthly life that is also waiting. So the first candle we lit last week, and here's our little song for the first candle.
One little candle lighted on a wreath, the earth below prepares to glow. Two little candles lighted on a wreath, the plant lifts up its blossom cup.
There we are. So now is when, right before the announcements, is when I would like to honor and raise up Bodhi and his new album, which is called Chi. That's how you say it, right? Chi. That means energy. And so can you just move over to this high place here? Just like right here, right there. No, right up. There you and hold this. Okay. So put your blessing fingers up, if you would. Okay. And repeat after me. Bodhi, we bless you and your work.
Bodhi, we bless you and your work.
We are so blessed to have had you.
We are so blessed to have had you.
For these 10 years. Watching you grow. And helping us grow. We bless this most recent endeavor. And send it into the world. With great blessing. Now, Chi means energy. And so what we're going to do together is clap and then whoosh to Bodhi 3 times. And then we're going to clap and whoosh to the world 3 times, sending our energy with this new album. Okay? 3 and 3. Whoosh. 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 And you can get your very own copy at the Bodhi Mall right after the service.
Standing in all this energy. Good morning, I'm Reverend Sarah Hargrave, staff minister at this wonderful spiritual community. And we always like to start with gratitude. So we want to thank Trish Brady for the new office furniture that she sent our way, and Cece for getting it all together. I haven't seen the office yet, but I understand it's dressed up beautifully. So we thank you for the prosperity consciousness that makes that possible. We also want to thank Dave Dixon, who has been a faithful volunteer with the youth service, the youth church, for years. How many years do we know? Okay. A long time, and we are grateful for your service, and you're moving on to something else, whatever that is, and completing your time with the youth church. So let's give Dave a nice... Now, I imagine you have some holiday shopping left to do. Is that right? Okay. Well, today is a wonderful opportunity. We have the Holiday Bazaar, and lots of artisans here who have spent days and weeks and hours creating wonderful things for you to take home, including music, And so come, and also we have the bookstore, and buy your gifts here in your spiritual community and bless others who are in this community, and bless those who receive the gift. Winter solstice is coming up. It's going to be the best celebration ever, I'm told, by Reverend Karyl. And the favorite parts will remain, with some favorite new things to be added. And Christmas Eve, there is a service at the Learning Center. There's something special this year. There'll be also carols and some of the traditional things. So that'll be a great event. Christmas dinner at the Austins. They are going to open their home, and then those who want to can bring a dish to share. I went to the Thanksgiving one at the Walkers, and that was great, and I'm sure the one at the Austins is going to be great as well. So you need to sign up for that if you want to participate. And there's going to be starting a 5th Sunday brunch. And the Walkers are opening their home. Jet Walker is such a wonderful hostess. And the 5th Sunday of each month, there will be a brunch there. And so the first one's going to be December 29th. So sign up for the sheet on the sheet for that Sunday. Totes in the bookstore. Vanna. We have wonderful totes. They're special price for Christmas, $10, and it's wonderful marketing for our center. So they're great stocking stuffers, and you can take all the things you buy today home in those.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Hey, I'm a merchant at heart here. Classes, there are lots of classes to choose from. I think you got a flyer with all 4 of the classes on there. So they're accredited classes, and there's no prerequisites. So anybody who wants to take any of those classes, do it. Except one.
Marilyn's class has a prerequisite.
Okay, Marilyn's class. But everything else. And also, this is the week for my spiritual coffee and conversation at Il Fornaio from 8 o'clock till 9:30. And the topic this month is Change the Channel. And we're going to be talking about managing your mind during the holidays so that you have a better experience. And so it's about bringing whatever you want to bring more spirit to in the world. And we get to know each other and support each other in our work. Let's see, I think, Giving Tree. I forgot to mention the Giving Tree. That is at the back over there. That's when we, Vanna is pointing over there, our other Vanna, and you pick up a Christmas or a card and then give a gift to
Homeward Bound.
Homeward Bound, thank you. little stop there. And now I think it's Reverend Karyl.
Sarah can do more announcements in less time than anybody in the world, which is good because we had 14 and you're going to be tested on them. So I hope you took notes. And I have 3. Capricorn birthday party to which everyone is invited, Capricorns and anybody else. It's this coming Saturday at Sue Ruta's house. And so we are going to love up our Capricorns and tease them unmercifully. And there are pre-sale tickets for the solstice that are available, and Jay is going to be at the education table. There he is. There's our 3rd Vanna. If you want to just avoid the rush for solstice, you can get your tickets today. And finally, the foundational classes ended this last week, and they always end with a project. And so I wanted Dave Ramsey to come up here and share his. And while he's getting ready, and if you could just get the microphone ready, darling. Ashley is not here, but Ashley is like a Grandma Moses artist. In here, those of you that have taken the foundational class, every single core concept is in this little drawing. And I mean, forgiveness and immortality and the triune nature of God and all of those. And so I wanted to highlight this and tell you how great classes are. And isn't that a great idea to reproduce it for sale? And so David has this amazing book that, so say what you're going to say.
Well,
there,
I
darling.
loved the class,
There you go.
obviously. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
This-
I love the class, and so this is a book I created for myself.
These are all of his affirmations.
Affirmations
I am
and
affirmations.
intentions.
And this is his company. You might want to ask him about his company. This is the car he's buying. You want to ask him about that.
More of the car.
And then the house with room for 8 vehicles, including a limo.
I love cars.
And and then a lot of international travel. And he will be at the education table, and you can look through this. Is this fabulous?
Yeah.
8 classes. Thank you. That is what a climax to the announcements. Thank you. Okay, talk time. We're in the last month of the year. Have you noticed? Our theme this year, right over here, the New World and the Ancient Path. And we have been going through the year with appropriate topics according to the season. So, I was going to memorize this part, but obviously with everything that's going on, I haven't memorized it. So the theme for December is mystery. And the mystery that happens in every December, and it's so, because we have daylight saving time, and then we don't have daylight saving time, and we have clocks, and we have cars, and we have heat in our houses. What happens sometimes isn't as magical to us, and that's why I just talk about it and talk about it and talk about it, because it is the central mystery of life on earth. The central mystery of life on earth is that life comes from seeming death, that there is always a rebirth, that there is never an ending, there is always a new beginning. There is always a continuation. There is always a next chance. If we didn't get it right the first time, we can do it again. And it is evidenced by the return of the sun at the time of the winter solstice. And so my topic today is about the mystery of time, because that is wrapped up in this seasonal change. And it's not just theoretical. It's at the center of our faith, but it's kind of an invisible belief system. And so that's what I'm going to talk about today, because I think it's so important. It's one of the things that we try to control and we can't. Have you noticed that if you wanted the sun to rise a little bit later than usual tomorrow or earlier tomorrow, you can't do it? It's one of those things that we do not have any control over, and it causes us some consternation at times. And I'm going to quote now Queen Elizabeth I, her dying words: "All my possessions for a moment of time." That's how much we love it and can't control it. And so the word today is passage, the passage of time. As we have lived through this theme this year, the New World and the Ancient Path, we have experienced time and the passage at least as much as I could help us do this, as our ancestors did. We did slow things in the cold weather. We thought about intention. We blessed our goals. We conceived of our goals. When it got a little warmer, we planted our desires. When it got a little warmer, we tended our desires. We worked with practice on getting it right. And then we worked harder and faster as the energy in the world was high. And then through the harvest time, we have given thanks for every single thing in our life. And now we are almost back to falling into the mystery. And although we have heat in our cars and heat in our homes, I'm telling you what, my daughter in Eugene is living in -9 this morning. -9. That is colder than northern Russia. So she's in the mystery. I'm telling you, I was like, what the heck happened here? So, listen to this wonderful story. In ancient days, the world itself served as a vast clock. People closely watched the seasons change. Winter thawed into spring, which warmed into summer. Summer surrendered to cool autumn until the first freeze of winter descended and the cycle began again. Heavens kept time with the earth. The sun dependably marked off the days, hours, as it journeyed westward across the sky. One circuit of the sun from dawn to dawn is, in fact, the very definition of a day. The sun also acted as any sensible person, retreating from winter's cold and returning with the warming days of the spring. Although life was shorter, time was longer, moving with the steady but unhurried sun from one season to the next, changing in increments with the moon, wheeling with the great circle of the stars. So as we think about those rolling of the seasons, the ancient holidays, the ancient holy days, were actually markers on that calendar of time. And all of the appropriate activity was placed on the calendar, and the calendar itself was holy, the activities were holy, and time was holy. So much so that this is our principle today. To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under heaven. And the Ecclesiastes verses in chapter 3 go forward and saying, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to get and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to cast away, a time to rend and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. And although some of those qualities and experiences we don't want to affirm that we have, we seem to have them on this earthly plane. And so this holy process of time is somehow lost to us when we wake up with an alarm clock instead of with the sun or the hungry cattle that we can hear out our window, or when we stop work because the closing bell has rung instead of our work is done. So the shift from the old natural way of just living according to the light and the temperature changed around 1350. It's an interesting story. Then around 1350, carefully stowed beneath the decks of trading ships, keeping company with the gunpowder, the first mechanical clocks arrived in Europe. Modern time made its debut and changed its creators. Modeled on the ancient Chinese water tower, early clocks used falling drops of water to count out the seconds and minutes of the day. For 14th century observers accustomed to marking the hours by the shouts of town criers and the tolling of church bells, the first clocks must have been startling reminders of humanity's bondage to time, counting out the seconds as misers counted coins. Moreover, with an ear bent toward the new machine, one could literally hear time fall, one drop of water after the other, stealing the seconds away. So I'd like you to imagine, if you could, this complete mind shift that happened when clocks that dropped water second by second appeared. Maybe for the first time in humanity's history, we got the feeling that second is gone, never to be used again. That second is gone, never to be used again. And the aspect of divinity of time was lost as it became a commodity. It became something that we spent. It became something that we bought and sold, that we invested or wasted. And it is so amazingly specific now when we come into the present that a second is certainly measured. It's not measured anymore by the ancient Chinese water clocks. But listen to this. Now nature itself has been mechanized in the service of time. 1 second being measured by international agreement as the precise interval it takes for an atom of the element cesium to make 9,192,631,770 vibrations, spilling its coiled energy into the cooling universe, hastening the frantic world on, marking time. And not only is science measuring time to that amazing degree, but cosmologists show us that this is a cartoon book that I can not even understand about cosmology and quantum physics, but I can understand this page. This is a little guy with a clock that is ticking kind of in balance to himself. And here he is with a clock that's ticking much shorter. So it says time is not absolute, space is not absolute. In a strong gravitational field relative to that of the observer, time goes slower and dimensions contract from the view of the observer. So even with all of this, time still appears in religious works. And I'm going to read to you now a little piece of C.S. Lewis, who is a Christian writer. And this is my favorite thing by C.S. Lewis. It's the Screwtape Letters. And this book is about a major demon. And we don't believe in demons, of course, but this is an analogy because anything that takes us away from our experience of oneness with God hurts. It hurts us. Just like it was something that was something outside that was doing something bad to us. So anyway, Screwtape is a major demon who is training his little nephew called Wormwood to persuade souls to come away from God. And so God is seen as the enemy, of course. So this is what they have to say about time. And this is Screwtape talking to Wormwood, his nephew. And he says, "The humans live in time, but our enemy destines them to eternity. He therefore, I believe, wants them to attend chiefly to two things, to eternity itself and to that point of time which they call the present. For the present is the only point at which time touches eternity. Our business is to get them away from the eternal and from the present, which in this view we sometimes tempt a human to live in the past. It is far better, however, to make them live in the future, so that thought about the future inflames hope and fear. In a word, the future is, of all things, the thing least like eternity. To be sure, the enemy does not want men to give the future their hearts, to place their treasure in it. We do. His ideal is a man who, having worked all day for the good of posterity, washes his mind of the whole subject, commits the issue to heaven, and returns at once to the patience or gratitude demanded by the moment that is passing over him. But we want a man hag-ridden by the future. We want a whole race perpetually in pursuit of the rainbow's end, never honest nor kind nor happy now, but always using as mere fuel wherewith to heap the altar of the future every real gift which is offered them in the present. So, what might be useful here? With our look at the ancient way of looking at time, the philosopher's way of looking at time, the Christian's way of looking at time, the scientist's way of looking at time, we do really only have the present moment. I mean, Eckhart Tolle told us that. And yet we also have all the time in eternity. Each of us has our own subconscious way that we live with time, and when something kind of goes out of kilter with that way, it causes us disturbance, but we don't really notice the disturbance until that thing does bother us. For example, I'm listening to a mystery novel in my car. I have to confess that often I listen to novels in the car because, I drive 80 miles a day, but nonetheless, I get a lot of good stories in. So I'm listening to this mystery that is supposedly taken place in real time now. There's a detective and there's a crime, and everything seems rather normal, except it's a fantastic story and the hero is superhuman, but nonetheless, time seems to go normally. And then they introduce this character that looks like a 20-something-year-old woman, and she is supposed to actually have been born in the late 1800s and is now 130 years old, looking like a 23-year-old. And I'm sure that this will be explained somewhere in this story, but to my mind, it gave me a strange jolt that, like, oh, this isn't about real life. This is about science fiction. So do you get what I'm trying to say here? That when our experience of time is an invisible belief because we don't evaluate it, we don't think about it, we don't look at it. We just think we're either too busy or we think that we're bored. We don't think that time is flexible, and that our experience of it is like anything else for a religious scientist. It is affected by our belief. So I would like us to stretch now and to think in some deeper ways about how we can be in harmony with time. Okay? So any discomfort, any weirdness that comes up, any feelings about the passage of time, be sure to get a prayer from a practitioner. First of all, honor and love each season. And I don't mean just if summer is your favorite season, grit your teeth and learn to love winter. What I mean is love each season of your life. The principle is there is a time for everything. So right now, I am feeling my empty nest. And although my children are coming home for Christmas, in a way, I keep their rooms, but their lives are elsewhere. And that is the season of my life, that empty nest. And I am looking at the anniversary of my mom's death, which is tomorrow. It's 5 years. 5 years. And so I'm alone with my 3 cats. And if 10 years ago, if I thought of a woman living alone with 3 cats, I would think she was kind of weird. But, maybe I'm not seeing maybe that's an invisible belief that I am weird. But I see my life. I love my life. I try to accept I do accept the season of my life, and I love it. And that's the point of not resisting any stage we're in, because we are going through the stages if we're lucky. Not lucky. I mean, if we get to live a long life, we're going to go through all the stages and get old. So loving every single stage is really important. Next, see time as a divine gift, not as a commodity, not something that is in limited supply, but that every single day is a gift, every single moment is a gift. Right now is a gift. And so however you're spending your right now, if you're thinking about what you're going to do afterwards, that's how you're spending now. If you are contemplating the stage of your life and loving it right now, that's how you're spending right now. Just to have you think about all of these things so that when you get to the end of your in-breaths, well, we'll get to that in a moment. Be like Goldilocks. Now, do you remember Goldilocks? Goldilocks is the pure principle of moderation. She and the three bears contemplated porridge, the too hot porridge, the too cold porridge, and the just right porridge. And the chair that was too soft, and the chair that was too hard, and the chair that was just right. And the bed that was too fluffy and too lumpy and just right. So this is the principle of moderation that seems to work for the most of us. And so how do we associate that with time? It might be that we think about filling our life too full, filling our life not enough, and filling our life just enough. You know, we use really aggressive words with time, and maybe it's just me, because I wrote this for myself. I'm feeling awfully busy right now. But listen to these aggressive words that we use to speak of time. Hurry, having to wait, not just pausing, having to wait, breaking an appointment, being late, missing a connection, being tardy, being rushed, being overwhelmed, being slammed, being up against the wall. That's how our consciousness, my consciousness, sometimes uses this gift of time as something to battle, to make it conform to me. And how useless is that? So I'm trying ease. And so I'd like you to say after me, time is my blessing. Oh, that sounded so great. It sounded so great. So the next one is fill the moments and days with what you love. So this means that you either do what you love or you learn how to love what you do. And either one actually works. If I asked any of you, what do you love to do right now, you could give me a list, and I would say, have you done any of those this week? And hopefully you would say yes. But then the other piece is loving what you do. You know, I find a great deal of wisdom in Walt Disney films. And so when I was writing this, Whistle While You Work came to me from Snow White. That's the point. If you whistle while you work or do something that you enjoy, then you get to love what you do with that whistling. Because, yeah. I'm not a really good whistler. I don't think I've ever whistled from the pulpit. But, so, I'm telling you that when you do get to the end of your days, when I get to the end of my days, I am not going to say, I wish I had done more of what I disliked. And so, you know, I had a friend, actually, when I was a member here, long before I went to the School of Ministry, I had a friend here whose purpose in life was to enjoy herself. Period. End of story. That was her purpose in life, to enjoy herself. And that's how she made every decision. Now, try that one on. If every time you had a choice, you asked, what would I enjoy more? Now that's putting some smiles on your faces. Try that. Then you would certainly live this one, filling your moments with what you love. And lastly, know that there is enough time for everything. So here's a quote from me. I like it so much I put quotes around it, although I made up the whole talk. But I really like this little thing I'm going to tell you. What is ours to do fits into the seasons of our lives. What is ours to do fits in the seasons of our lives. It would not, and conversely, we still have stuff to do if we're here. It wouldn't work if we had too little to fill up our lifespan. It wouldn't work if we had too much to do to fill up our lifespan. I'm so glad you're taking down my quote. I'm seeing several of you taking notes. I'll say it again. What is ours to do fits into the seasons of our lives. Anything else would be unthinkable. Anything else would presuppose a spiritual life that is in some way out of harmony. And we cannot have that. I mean, it can't be so. Because we look out and we see harmony in the world. We see balance in the world. We see enough of everything. Really and truly, there are enough trees, enough sunrises, enough winters, enough seasons, and enough to do. So, concluding, we're in this season that celebrates a birth that took place over 2,000 years ago. And as we get more closer to Christmas, we will do more and more Christmassy things. But I just want to acknowledge that this is a reason for the season, is the birth of the baby Jesus. But older than that, 4 billion years older than that, we celebrate the birth of the return of the light. And this happened before there were people. I mean, since there have been people, I am telling you what, people have looked at the sky to see the evidence that the sun is returning. Before that, the animals looked at the sky or felt the temperature. In fact, there is a theory that the whole movement into and out of hibernation has to do with the angle that the light hits the eyes of the little creatures. And so when the angle of the light is a little bit higher, they realize it's time to stop hibernating. Before there were animals, the plants looked at the return of the light. All that photosynthesis, just right to the light. That is exactly what plants do. So before there were people, before there were animals, before there were plants, there was just the elements of the earth. Earth, air, fire, and water. And they looked to the return of the light. This is the precious time of our life when we get to sit in the darkness for about 13 more days until we know the light is returning. And so as we go into the inner work, I'm going to sing to you a little chant that has everything to do with what we've been talking about. And when you get it, many of you know it already, sing along with me. I invite you within. The earth, the air, the fire, the water, return, 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 return. The earth, the air, the fire, the water, return, 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 return. The earth, the air, the fire, the water, return, 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 return. The earth, the air, the fire, the water, return, 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 return. And so, as we take this journey within, really into the timeless realm inside, into the eternal present moment, the now moment of infinite privilege, where we co-create the next moment and the next. I ask for a return to the highest consciousness of the gift of time, a return to the consciousness of comfort and ease and appreciation, a return to the consciousness of awareness and truly seeing the blessing of this earthly realm as the seasons roll. I call forth in all of us a return to the appropriate activities for each season. That means wintry things in winter, summery things in summer, but also what we are called to do at the stages of our life, of youth and growth and aging. It is all sacred. It is all beautiful. There is not one season that is better than the next. Every single season is perfect, whole, and complete in the world and in our life. I call forth comfort in each and every era. I call forth the receipt of our gifts in each era. How can we receive the blessings of every era? I call this forth for each one of us here and in our seeing of another, so that we never judge what happens in youth. We never judge what happens in age. It is the perfect time. There is a time for everything under heaven. Blessed be. of these to go to good homes. At this time, I would like the ushers to come forward right here. And I've asked your president, Gail Durkin, to just say a couple little things right here at the offering time. So please welcome the most generous, wise, beautiful leader of our community, Gail Durkin.
I don't know how to say a few things. This is a big topic to me. So I don't know how you felt when you walked in the doors, but I know that when I walked into the doors of Signs of Mine 14 years ago, I went, oh my God, I'm home. And I've been home ever since, and I've chosen this to be my home. And I continue to participate, and the more I participate, the more I get spiritually grown, and surprises happen to me that I didn't ever expect, like standing here. So I'm here to tell you about, this is December, the end of the year, and it's like conscious decisions. What am I doing with my gifts, my monies? How do I want to spend them? So this is an opportunity for you to think about, before the end of December, how do you want to give? Do you want to support this community? And you might want to do that last end of the year gift and give. So on behalf of the Core Council, I thank you for taking this into consideration.
So if you would just take your gift in your hands, and if it's a check or if it's one of those little cards that says, I've already pledged, or if it's cash, and just know that it is through the love and the decisions of support and through replicating the nature of the self-givingness of God that we do this act of giving right now for the great good of ourselves and each one who calls this beautiful center home. So we are giving actually today for the person sitting next to us so that they may have a spiritual home to come to. This is our act of community. This is our act of giving. This is our conscious act of participating in the lifeblood of this center that we love so much. I give my thanks for these gifts, and so it is. Amen. Would the ushers please receive the gifts? I give thanks for the sweet hearts that participated in this giving. It is very, very good. Blessed be. Okay. That was so sweet. You have a lot to do after service today. You have shopping. You have looking at all of the things to sign up for and peruse at the education table. I see somebody is going to give massage. That's a first. That's amazing. So just enjoy yourselves. Have a great, great holiday time, and we'll see you next week. And Reverend Sarah, would you please pray us out?
The practitioners would come forward, and the other practitioners surround the room. These practitioners on the table are there to serve you. They volunteer their time every Sunday, different volunteers. They're normally paid for their services, so we're grateful for the service that they offer to you. So if you'll just join me now. And I speak my word in the first person for myself, and for each of you that opens your hearts and minds to have it for yourself. I give thanks for so much. There is so much to be thankful for. I am grateful that I understand that Spirit is truly all there is, everywhere present, in every person, every situation, every part of life. I am grateful for the awareness that time is infinite, that I am an infinite being, birthless, deathless, changeless, no matter what the season of my life. And I am grateful that infinite intelligence within me is guiding and directing me each moment of every day. And that same infinite intelligence is harmonizing and healing all that needs to be harmonized in my health, in my body, and the body of my affairs. So recognizing this is the truth, I simply say thank you and wait for wonderful reports and delightful surprises. And so it is. Amen.
For our benediction and closing song. So right up here, I know that my experience of time is a gift from God, so I love it, use it wisely, and flow with it. I enjoy the eternal now. I also honor the finite quality of time that is my earthly life. Each moment is a blessing.